Welcome to Vintage Genetics, where it is all about classic bodybuilding. I, like many of you, look up to bodybuilders either in the past or right now for motivation and inspiration and to actually see what is possible. And knowing that there are many modern classic bodybuilders out there should inspire many people to achieve the same thing. More and more people are starting to like classic bodybuilding, especially now that the new division, Classic Physique, has taken hold. Most of the bodybuilders that I'm about to mention actually compete in this class, in this new class, as finally now there is an opportunity for aesthetically pleasing bodybuilders to grace the pro stage, even at the Mr. Olympia. So the first guy that we're going to mention is Artemis Dolgen, and I think most of you guys know him pretty well. If you watch this channel, you're probably familiar with who he is. But he has a great physique that pretty much has all the aspects of a classic bodybuilder. You know, he has a small waist, he can do the vacuum, he has a good V-taper, and he's just an aesthetic flow that he has to his body, and he has a great ability to make classic poses stand out with his physique. Because remember guys, hitting a classic pose and making it look good at the same time, it's a tough task, because you can see a lot of big massive bodybuilders who maybe even have 100 pounds on most of these guys can't even make that pose look good. But anyway, Artemis did some men's physique shows in 2013 and actually got his pro card in that year. And I actually saw this picture on Facebook and I was like, whoa, who is this guy? Does he even belong in men's physique? He himself said that the judges said that he was too muscular for men's physique, but I thought he was actually the perfect specimen for that, except I didn't know his legs were good as well. So classic bodybuilding would have been even better. But he actually did get his pro card doing the men's physique shows. And after that he did some other shows such as muscle motor shows and stuff like that. But then he decided to pursue a career away from the stage, and he founded the company Golden Aesthetics, which is basically selling gym clothing that's all about the golden era, pretty much like I do with Vintage Genetics. But the nice thing about his company is that he actually has contact with some golden era bodybuilders such as Tom Platz and Danny Padilla, so there really is a direct connection there. So this guy definitely deserves a spot in the classic bodybuilding array of people. Next up is Chris Bumstead. He is only 22 years old right now, younger than me, which is of course incredible for the type of physique that he has right now. I have seen him before, a couple of years back, also on Facebook, in pictures of the Canadian Nationals, for example. And I was always looking for guys of my own age for inspiration and how I would stack up to them. And what struck me most is that he wasn't the typical bodybuilder, but that he had actually classical lines, proportions, and on top of that, for his age, he had these crazy legs, which I did not have, so it was a great motivation to train them. And first, he did the Canadian Nationals in 2015 in the junior category, which he won. And after that, he won his pro card by winning the North American Bodybuilding Championships. And currently, he's doing Classic Physique and, the new division. And in my opinion, he is a great representative of this division. So there is a bright future ahead of him. And I think a lot of these guys should belong in a division like this to really make it stand out. Next is Callum Van Moger, and this is probably the most well-known bodybuilder mentioned in this video. He basically is one of the first to really touch upon bringing back classic bodybuilding in modern times. It was a combination of things, such as him resembling Arnold Schwarzenegger himself and gaining a lot of publicity because of it. And of course he also won competitions such as the Junior Mr. Universe, which is a great title, as this was one of Arnold's titles in the past as well, so that helped him as well. But of course, he had to win it, and he has been Mr. Universe 3 times in a row. And he is now moving on to Classic Physique. And I have been on a picture with him. He's a very nice guy to talk to at the FIBO last year, and he has yet to obtain his pro card in the IFBB ranks. He had it in the other ranks, where you have the Mr. Universe, which is another, organization basically. But now he moved on to IFBB, to the Classic Physique, and now he has to obtain his pro card. But he is definitely a great example of classic bodybuilding and a great inspiration for many people. And then we have someone who you might not know that fast, that quick, but it's Cody Drobot. And Cody is currently 24 years old, which is very young for the physique that he has. He has won several competitions throughout the years, and in 2016 he won a Classic Physique competition, which proves how much of a classic bodybuilder that he is. He is one of the upcoming young bodybuilders who really deserves to be on this list. As you can see right here, his physique just flows well. These pictures really made this guy famous. A lot of people actually did videos on him, most notably Louis Marco. He has great legs, a small waist, and a very good V taper. He really has that X factor of the golden era that he is bringing with his physique. He can pull off those classic poses and still look good, which I told you is a rarity. Most pro bodybuilders today just look weird trying to pull those off, so he's definitely someone to look out for. And then we have Regan Grimes. He is from 1993, so just like me. So I guess he's either 23 or 24. I'm 23 right now. He has done various shows such as the Canadian Nationals, but more notably, he has done various Arnold Classic contests, and he actually won his pro card by winning the overall in the Arnold Classic Brazil of last year in 2016. He has especially crazy shoulders, which are 3D, and overall his aesthetics are great, including the legs. His waist is small, which makes his legs even look bigger, and his fullness is definitely all over his physique, especially the shoulders, as I mentioned. And this is also someone to be looking out for in the future. And just like some other guys I mentioned, I saw this guy on Facebook. Just because of a few pictures, I started to look up to this guy. Just a level of conditioning combined with the aesthetics, the proportions, the small waist. It just is an awesome thing to see if you're a bodybuilding enthusiast, especially when you love the golden era. And the last one to mention is Jackie Lin. And this is actually a bodybuilder from Belgium, the neighboring country to where I live, the Netherlands. Probably not a lot of people know him, especially you guys, because he really is a local show winner. In his class, he is doing classic bodybuilding. Literally, classic bodybuilding is the name of the class that you can do in Europe. And in the Netherlands, he has already won it 2 times in a row. And also he has won Best Posing 2 times in a row. And I have seen him a few weeks ago at one of these bodybuilding shows. And especially his posing routine is just remarkable. And you can see in this picture that even Bob Paris approves of it, which is a feat in and of itself. And this is simply how it should be done, guys. Aesthetics before mass. Fix your weak points before adding too much mass, because otherwise you will never catch up to it and you will be like every other bodybuilder out there. You may be big, but you're not aesthetic, your proportion aren't right, and you're not representing the golden era, because it's not about building mass as quickly as possible. It's building a proportionate physique, because who wants a big physique with body parts that are all out of whack? I don't think anyone. Anyway guys, these were some of the notable bodybuilders who are on my list as inspiration, motivation, and respect for what I have accomplished and how they are capable of changing the entire sport from just bodybuilding to an actual art again. Of course, it will never be exactly like in the past, before like the 1970s, you know, the true golden era, and that's why I call these bodybuilders a modern classic bodybuilders, a mix of the good of both eras. And I, of course, am trying my best to be a part of this group, and I'm very motivated to make it happen. In fact, I'm sure something of the latter will happen sooner than later. And I hope you enjoyed this video, guys, and let me know who your favorite bodybuilders are. And don't forget to stay golden. Welcome to Vintage Genetics, where it is all about classic bodybuilding. I, like many of you, look up to bodybuilders either in the past or right now for motivation and inspiration and to actually see what is possible. And knowing that there are many modern classic bodybuilders out there should inspire many people to achieve the same thing. More and more people are starting to like classic bodybuilding, especially now that the new division, Classic Physique, has taken hold. Most of the bodybuilders that I'm about to mention, guys, know him pretty well. If you watch this channel, you're probably familiar with who he is. But he has a great physique that pretty much has all the aspects of a classic bodybuilder. You know, he has a small waist, he can do the vacuum, he has a good V-taper, and he's just an aesthetic flow that he has to his body, and he has a great ability to make actually compete in this class, in this new class, as finally now there is an opportunity for aesthetically pleasing bodybuilders to grace the pro stage, even at the Mr. Olympia. So the first guy that we're going to mention is Artemis Dolgen, and I think most of you classic poses stand out with his physique, because remember guys, hitting a classic pose and making it look good at the same time, it's a tough task, because you can see a lot of big, massive bodybuilders who maybe even have 100 pounds on most of these guys can't even make that pose look good. But anyway.